We're here at 12th Avenue South in Nashville, Tennessee, and we're here at Edley's Barbecue. Now, Edley's was founded by Will and Catherine Newman, and they named it after Will's grandfather, this gentleman right here, Mr. Edley Newman. Now, Mr. Newman, he passed down a love for barbecue and a passion for doing things the right way. Edley's Barbecue has won Best Barbecue in Nashville 4 times from the Nashville scene. And speaking of racking up awards, today we're going to meet with CPA head coach Ingle Martin. His Lions are getting ready to defend their state title, the 3rd since Ingle Martin took over at CPA. Now, join us down here at Edley's, and you'll see why Edley's is a tribute to all things Southern. So let's go inside and see what's smoking. Well, Brett, tell me what we got here.
Oh, well, obviously it's great looking barbecue. I mean, we got our pork butt, we got our brisket, which is handled with tremendous care. So we smoke our pork for at least 12 hours and our brisket for at least 10 hours. And it's handled with care, right? So we get a prime brisket. So we're family owned. We get our brisket from a family owned distributor as well in Washington. But it's great looking food. I mean, look at that.
Oh yeah, it's incredible.
I mean, we're known for our brisket. People just fall in love with it. And then obviously, so all of our sides are all homemade. I mean, we take no shortcuts. I mean, our freezer here is as big as your fridge at home. So our macaroni and cheese, our mac sauce, we make our own roux. It takes us about 3 hours to make. It's got 4 cheeses, but really 3 different cheeses in there. So you got Gouda. Yeah, so primarily Gouda. We top it off with Monterey Jack. We got a white queso and a white American in that. I mean, our green beans, we do our own bone broth. Banana pudding, I mean, it's insane. Key ingredients, I mean, cream cheese, obviously our pudding mix. So, and then we got our grits casserole, sausage, Gouda cheese, peppers, jalapenos.
And it's white oak?
So we use a mixture of white oak and cherry wood.
You know, obviously coming out of 2020, had a bunch of new things that we had to experience, you know. No one has ever gone through what any of us all went through as coaches last year, and I'm sure you guys have had a lot of people on here that talk about just what that was like. But, you know, just for the kids and the coaches, it really was just almost new every week. You know, you're waiting on different things to come down, and state government said one thing, city government said another. Our school straddled Williamson and Davidson counties, and so it was crazy. But really proud of our kids and everything that they persevered through, and it's always fun to win the last one.
I imagine that it was probably about a year ago this time. We were all sitting in listening to Board of Control meetings, listening to what they were going to possibly do about football season. I mean, those are meetings we don't really want to listen to anymore, aren't they?
Yeah, no question. Yeah, it was something obviously that no one had ever navigated through, but really our hats are off to all the people that worked so hard to make sure that high school kids were able to play. You know, a lot of states, they shut down everybody. At least our governor and our board allowed it to be up to counties and cities and in private schools to the headmasters and the people running the schools. And so we were just fortunate. I mean, that was kind of our mantra each week. 2020 gave us perspective, and so our kids every Friday night, it was the easiest year I've ever had of pregame talks, because it was, hey boys, we're blessed to just be able to play Friday night. Go out and enjoy it, because it might be your last. And literally, several schools got shut down in the playoffs. I mean, how horrible would that be to lose your season based on something that you had no control of? Didn't even have a chance to go play for it. So for everything that it was, very grateful to have played, and extremely just humbled to be able to have won the last game. It was a phenomenal year.
How many years were you an assistant high school coach before you started took over as head coach?
Well, I think I'm obviously going into my 12th year of coaching, but I certainly appreciate the kind of the unique track that my career has been on. Only coached 1 year at Innsworth with my head coach Ricky Bowers, who was AD, and basketball coach there, and so I was able to coach football and basketball in 2010, 2011, and then had the opportunity at CPA, and that's been the last 10 years. So certainly not a normal track, but for me, I think God's timing was a lot more important than what I wanted to do, and he opened up a door, and my wife and I stepped through it together. She actually stepped through it 3 years before I did. She's been at CPA. I guess this will be her 14th year. And so, it's been fun. We have 2 boys, and both of them have been born and have started school, and we got one going into 6th grade and one going into 3rd grade. So
wow.
we got all 4 of us over there. It's been really, really special.
When you first took over, you kind of took, as you said, a little bit different path. When you were trying to establish your culture over at CPA, what comes first, establishing your staff or establishing the program expectation with the kids?
Well, I, early on knew that, places are special because of the people that God puts in those places. Buildings are buildings. They're all made out of the same stuff. Weight rooms, some are nicer than others, but they're all just made out of, whatever.
Right.
They all got a certain amount of weight in them. Fields are nice. They're either grass or turf. All of that's great, but really I believe people make it. And since CPA started, they've always had just something different there that really drew people and drew me. I grew up here in Nashville and had a bunch of friends that went to CPA, and there was something different about them. And I was fortunate enough to be able to play in college with a couple guys from CPA, and really got to appreciate them from afar. And then obviously being able to step in there as a coach, that's really what I tried to focus on early on was just getting the right type of people. And so we were very fortunate. Had a lot of really good guys on staff. Steve Linger, he's been there a long time. He's actually worked with every head coach that's coached at CPA. I forget how many years. I have to look at him and ask him at our meetings, when we're introducing the staff. But he's been just a rock for CPA football. Guy that knows the ins and outs, knows the story and the arc of what CPA football has been. He was there when the games were held at Bellevue Middle School. A lot of people don't remember that, but CPA started out with no field, and so they played over at Bellevue Middle. I actually went as a high school kid and watched them play against a really good Trousdale County team over at Bellevue Middle, and I remember that game. And so we moved into our stadium in 1999, and so anyway, so you got Steve Linger, who's been around, and he was one of the first guys that I saw when I got the job. And so and then just had some other guys come in. Steve Haywood, who just left us actually after 10 years to take the Lakeway Christian job, the new school up in East Tennessee near Morristown. And he left college football, had 2 young daughters at that time. Now they're going to be in 8th grade and 6th grade. So just a lot of life happened the last 10 years. But again, you asked about the culture. The culture for us started with the people. We have arguably for me, of course, I think he's the best, but Brian Epps is our strength coach and has done an amazing job with our kids. We really believe in that part of our program. And our defensive coordinator, Ryan Taylor, this will be his 9th year. He came on our 2nd year, and another guy that left college football because he wanted to do something different. Started a family. He's got 2 young boys and has done a tremendous job coaching. And then here recently, kind of just again talking about the people and the culture, a guy that I was in Bible study with, our wives were in a couples Bible study back in 2008 together, Leroy Harris. And so Leroy came, and again, his oldest son's going to be a sophomore, and in that Bible study, he was a little kid in diapers, running around. And so it's just crazy, but Leroy's coaching our O-line. And then our last 2 hires are guys that actually played for us, and young guys that we brought back. And so Cole Smith and Houston Nichols are those 2 guys. So anyway, there's no question for us. It wasn't anything more than getting the right type of people.
You went to your first finals in 2013, win your first championship 2014. You win again in 18 and 20. What is the formula for your consistency?
I think we were very fortunate early on to play against some really good coaches and good people. 2011 and 12, we got it handed to us by Jeff Morris and the Milan Bulldogs. And so at that time, Milan was still is, one of the best programs in the state. If you guys have ever been down, I'm not sure if you've been to a game at Milan, but just a different place. People love football there. It means a lot. And so for us coming in as a new staff, getting to play in one of the most historic, rich programs in the semifinals back-to-back years, we learned a lot. And we thought we knew a little bit about football, but Coach Morris taught us pretty quickly that there's a difference in what high school football needs to be at that level. And so he taught us about how to have tough teams. His teams were tough. Taught us how important it was to have a good run game, how important it was to have good defense, and then just the way that those guys coached. Every single guy on their staff was into the game. They took it as serious as you possibly can, and
Right.
And certainly, people, I don't think appreciate your losses some, but we sure did. And so Jeff Morris taught us a ton, him and his staff, and then you mentioned getting there in 2013 to the first Blue Cross Bowl for our staff. That was against the guy that has rewritten every record in Tennessee, Gary Rankin and his staff. And so when you go up and your first 3 playoff losses are against Jeff Morris and Gary Rankin, you learn a lot about what it takes to be successful, because those 2 guys have been to the mountaintop. They've seen it. And clearly for us, it was a great opportunity, because we got it handed to us, 3 years in a row. And so that 2014 game probably still go down as one of the best championship games in the state. I mean, at any year, 7-0. I don't know that there's ever been a 7-0 game in a state championship, and that was 2 really good teams in 2014 playing. And again, it was against Gary Rankin and the Alcoa Tornadoes and their unbelievable coaching staff. Brian Nix, their defense coordinator. I don't know why he's not a head coach somewhere, except that I'm sure Coach Rankin's told him he's going to be the next guy at Alcoa. There's got to be something there, because he's tremendous as a coach. And so, so that 7-0 game, I mean, it's incredible, to have played an old school kind of smash mouth brand of football, and to have won it in that moment, because really what we saw in those early years was just the toughness that it took to win at that level. And so you asked kind of what led to that consistency. It really for us started in the weight room with our guys working out. Started with how we practice, the intensity with which we practice, the consistency with which our coaches coach every day, every rep, and really I think, when you look at really good coaches, and obviously in 2021 everyone thinks of a great coach, think of Nick Saban. If you watch him, he doesn't take plays off,
Right.
In games, practices, he's zeroed in. He's not thinking about his golf game. He's not thinking about his vacation, and that's really hard. And I see that same thing in guys like Gary Rankin. There are no plays that Gary Rankin wasn't zeroed in, and that's very unique. A lot of people can win one. You can get to one championship. Maybe you can get to a semifinal. But I really think those guys that have been able to do it over and over and over, George Quarles, I mean, there's something there. And so for us, we looked at some of those programs and how they did things and learned a lot from them. And honestly, nothing's new under the sun. John Wooden is the greatest coach ever. You look back at anything that he did, and it's all relevant till today. Anything that he did with his teams. And so anyway, we didn't try to reinvent anything. We just tried to go to work.
Do you find it harder, or does it not make a difference to win more? You talked about getting to the initial win. Do you find it harder after you've won to continue to build on that?
Yeah, I think for us, everyone's different, but our staff, every year's its own year. It stands separate from every other year. This 2021 team, it's not going to be handled like any other team. There's certain things that we'll do that have worked with our staff in terms of preparation, in terms of how we look at the season, but we've never coached this group of guys before. And so we don't say, hey, we always did it like this, that's how you're going to do it. We don't say, this has always worked, or this didn't always work, or this kid is exactly like this kid. there's similarities, but you got to appreciate the unique qualities of each team and all the players and even the staffs. I mean, our staffs have been different by one or two guys every single year for the last 10 years. And so what are everyone's strengths? What are their weaknesses? And where can guys kind of step in and fill in for where those weaknesses are to try to lift up the whole group? And so, this year's team's going to be different, and that's the challenge. That's, for me, getting out of bed, putting my feet on the ground every morning is about that challenge for this group, because we really believe at CPA that we are just stewards of the positions that we hold. I'm not, CPA is going to go on long after I'm gone, and so I'm just a steward holding this position, and I want to do the best I can. And so what keeps me up at night, or what gives me any bits of anxiety that I might have, is I want to have these, we got 110 kids or so on the roster this year. I want to give all 110 the very best opportunity that they could have in 2021. I'm not worried about 2020. I'm not worried about 2022. I want to worry about this year. I want to worry about tomorrow's workout. Wednesdays are off day. So what's tomorrow's workout look like? What can we do so that every coach has a chance to be successful, every kid has a chance to be successful? And to me, taking care of all those little things along the way will lead to long-term success for the team this year. And so, again, I've been very fortunate to have a bunch of guys pull the weight alongside of me, and all these guys love working with the kids. This is not a business anyone gets into to be rich or famous. High school coaching is a calling, and it's really, I think, teaching is a calling. It's a form of ministry if you're a believer.
Yeah.
To come in and spend time with people and not really get the worldly rewards that the world says are important. And so all of these guys that are giving up their time to come in and coach high school football, they're doing it because they want to, not because they're saying, ooh, I'm going to be rich or famous from it. And so I think that's pretty unique when you really step back and look at why do guys like coaching high school football. And you guys mentioned being Friday night fanatics. All of us, are drawn to things that are pure, and there's some purity about high school football that still exists, though I do fear that it's crumbling a little bit with some of the stuff that's going on, and you're starting to see it. And basketball's been tainted for a long time, but football, I think it's coming behind it, just with all the money that comes in, and where money comes in, things get complicated.
Right.
And so high school football, I feel like, is still the last kind of surviving trait, because there is no summer AAU football yet, even though they're trying to steal it and have these AAU 7-on-7 type tournaments and all this kind of stuff. But I think we're all drawn to just the chance to coach the kids that God brings through the door.
You talked about challenges, and you talked earlier about the strain of social distancing, but as you were getting down towards the end stretch last year, was there anything that you did differently as you started to get closer to the Blue Cross Bowl? Because, to make sure that, did you have that constant worry that somebody was going to get sick or with as you were getting down into the playoffs? Because several teams, a few teams had to actually forfeit and didn't get to play.
Yeah. I mean, you asked if we did anything different. Everything was different. I mean, our kids had to wear masks at practice. For one example. But just the way that we prepared, the way that we met. We didn't have the ability to meet in our locker room like we had in the past. It was a little bit too small of a place to have, all 100 kids and 10 coaches or 20 coaches, however many people show up each day. We got a revolving door of coaches sometimes. But the biggest thing is just, I think, in 2020, you learned how to adapt. If you couldn't adapt, if you had to do it the way that you always had done it, I think you would have driven yourself crazy. And every day was different, and you just had to be okay with, a kid calling in saying, I'm sick, or, I teach in the classroom, so I had 2 classes that, a couple days I had 3 kids out of 17 present in class. So I'm trying to get Zoom and recording my classes and all. I mean, everything was different this year. And so I just think the difference was being okay with change, being okay with adapting. But as far as people being sick, at that point, it was what it was. You know, if a kid was out, you just hoped it wasn't all of your linemen like we had. You know, we lost all of our linemen and lost a couple games in the middle of the season. And so to be able to play 11 games for us was huge.
You've got two strong leaders in Langston Patterson and Cade Law returning this year, among others. That has to have you excited about this year's team. What can you tell me about these young men, maybe some of the up-and-coming players that we're going to see this year?
Yeah, certainly excited about the group we have coming back. You know, we've got a group of seniors who in 2019 were all little puppies. You know, we had just graduated a bunch with our 2018 team. You know, several of those guys are playing college football, and there's a lot of differentiation, if you will, in who was playing and who was supposed to be playing and where people were going to be playing the next year. And so in 2019, a bunch of these kids all kind of showed us who they were. And by the end of the year, we had, I think, 6 of them starting on defense. And, you know, we're a fourth down completion or incompletion, whichever one you think it was, from having a chance of winning a state championship with those kids in 2019. So we're certainly excited about them and their experience that they bring back. But, you know, Langston obviously is a different kid. You know, both he and Cade were on the state championship baseball team, just won it last week. And, you know, two very God-gifted athletes. You know, Langston has as much ability as anyone we've ever had. And with the situation that kind of has unfolded itself at Vanderbilt with them hiring Clark Lee, who is Notre Dame's defensive coordinator. You know, Coach Lee recruited Langston hard at Notre Dame and saw a lot in him. And when he got the Vandy job, I don't know that Vanderbilt could have hired anyone else that would have gotten Langston to commit. And so that relationship really blossomed, and now Langston's going to be a Commodore, which is huge, because that program's certainly going to benefit from having Coach Lee and his staff there. So Langston's just different. Great linebacker, obviously, but a lot of people don't understand what a good running back he is. The state championship game, you know, he got the ball a lot and just did a tremendous job. You know, 220-pound kid that can run and move like a kid that weighs 40 or 50 pounds less. And, you know, that's why, of course, he's got a chance to be an SEC linebacker and will have a chance to play on Sundays, you know, if God takes care of him and he continues to develop. So, again, extremely excited to watch him this year. He's gotten so much better the last two. It's really hard to believe that he has another year of high school football. It's crazy because people ask me, and I really felt like he's ready to go play college. Like his body's ready, his mind's ready. He's a hard worker. You know, he does things the right way. He's everything you want in a leader for sure. And then, you know, one of his best friends is Cade Law, and Cade is a hard-nosed kid that, you know, again, he got the ball a lot too in the championship. Another 215, 220-pound kid that, you know, I was a big kid in high school and I weighed 205, and so to have two kids that can run the ball at 220 is huge for us this year. And so, you know, a lot of people don't know what a good defensive player Cade is, and so obviously he was an MVP of the game as a quarterback last year, and he's been All-State the last 2 years. But, you know, Cade may get a chance to play some defense this year, so we'll see what happens. But he's, you know, got a bunch of Division I offers, also got Division I baseball offers, and so, you know, he and I have talked about what a blessing that is. Not many kids get a chance to play one sport, let alone have both sports calling for your attention. And so, again, excited for him, and another one to get he's ready to go on. Like physically, he's ready to go, and so to be able to watch him play this year is going to be really exciting. And you asked about a couple of other kids, Reed Williford, who another one of the sophomores who started. I still call these seniors sophomores because they're you know, for the last 3 years it's been the sophomores, you know, who's out there. And so Reed's going to be a senior and has played receiver and safety for us. He's actually been offered as an inside linebacker, just got offered as a tight end today. So great athlete that is athletic enough to play those skill positions for us. But as he kind of projects to college, A lot of these guys like him as a really athletic linebacker or tight end. And so Reed's going to have a chance to have a really special year. We hope to do some different things with him. And then we've got a couple other linemen that have done great. Evan Carney didn't play as a sophomore. He's one of the few that didn't, but he started at left tackle last year for us, all-state kid. Has gotten better and better and better. He was the closer on the baseball team, which is pretty unique, to have these kids playing multiple sports. Reed Williford was a state champion in the 4x1, 4x2, and 4x4. So we love the kids doing more than just football. And then Colin Stewart picked up a couple offers as a defensive lineman. Just got an Ivy League offer today and has some Service Academy offers. So right now we got 5 kids with Division I offers, and so those are obviously the kids that you will follow and the recruiting websites will talk about. But there's several that might not be as heralded, but certainly as important for us. George Collier played probably more snaps than anybody on defense the last couple of years as a defensive lineman. Great lacrosse player, great hockey player, another multi-sport kid. Really excited to have him back. Bo Chance plays as hard as anybody that we've ever had here. Just gives everything he's got. Played on the defensive line the last 2 years. We're going to call on all these guys who played a lot of defense to play some offense this year. We still kind of believe in kids playing both ways and being able to help affect the game throughout the 48 minutes, not just on one side of the ball. And just trying to think through, some of these other kids that are going to have a chance to play. We got a lot of spots opening up on our offensive line because we graduated 5 of our top 6 kids. And so we're excited to watch and see some of these guys develop, see what happens. But, it's a really good group of seniors. Excited to watch these juniors and sophomores kind of step into a leadership role and a chance to play. Bo Burklow, who's another member of the baseball team, actually committed to Tennessee in baseball, but he's got a Division I football offer, and he'll just be a junior as a tight end, outside linebacker type of kid, and played as well as anybody in our state championship game. Played really well at our fullback position. Really tough, athletic kid. He's grown, a couple inches since last year. He's a big, athletic, strong kid. So we're certainly excited about what the future holds in this 2021 season.
You get an additional, or let's say another successful team that's joined your area. You're going to face off against Davidson Academy. They're joining your region. How do you feel about that and that challenge?
Well, I think the leagues that we've been in, and it's just funny you ask about that. I mean, we've probably changed leagues or had different opponents more than anybody in the state. I would argue that very strongly in my 11 years. We started out playing teams from Metro, Maplewood, Pearl Cone. Really grew a great relationship with Coach Bernetti at Pearl Cone. Learned a lot, just again learning from coaches and staffs and teams. Learned a lot from Coach Bernetti, and that moved into the southern Middle Tennessee where we played Marshall County and Giles County. Played some of those schools, which, again, talking about great high school football venues, Pulaski, Tennessee. I don't know that there's a nicer high school stadium. I mean, that press box is like a mini Neyland Stadium. It's unbelievable down there. And so gotten to experience a lot. And so this year adding Davidson Academy to a lot of familiar schools. FRA, when I was in high school 20-something years ago, was the big rival for CPA. BGA was one of the first games that CPA ever played. Maybe the first game that CPA ever played was against BGA. And so it was fun a couple years ago to kind of renew some of those. And Davidson Academy we played my first 2 years. So it'll be fun getting them back on the schedule. But, our league for the Division II part of football in Tennessee has been really good the last several years. And, I think we've had 3 out of the 4 semifinalists have been out of our league the last couple of years. And so if you come out of our league, you got a chance to do something. And so Davidson Academy joining obviously as the 2 or 3 time. I don't know, is it 2 or 3 in a row they've won?
Yeah, 3.
3.
Yeah, in single A. So they're going to be really good. Coach Paul Wade, who's at DCA now, had them rolling back in the mid 2000s, early 2000s, and so sounds like they've got them back going that way, and so it'll be good, man. We're excited and feel good about just the opponents that we play.
Yeah, you guys also, Lipscomb Academy's kind of reestablished a bit of a rivalry too. Last year, into the regular season, they knock you off in that game, and then you come back in the championship game and win that one. What does that rivalry do for the CPA program as far as the excitement?
Well, I think Coach McAdams, who's one of the, great coaches in our area, really did an unbelievable job. He came and put that program on the map, and I'm native here, and so I remember the Lipscomb Academy teams, or David Lipscomb Campus School teams.
Yeah.
That was the name that were really good, and so Coach Tillman had them going there for a little bit. We played them, and they might have been one of the best teams we played in that 2014 season. We played them in the quarterfinals, and so that program's always been really good. I think last year they got back to the state championship game for the first time, I think since 2008 or 9 or something like that. So I know that's exciting for their community. They've got a lot of strong fans and loyal fans, and again, BGA's got tradition. Davidson Academy's got tradition, and it's fun to be able to play some of those great schools, and then being able to cross over and play against Lausanne, who's kind of an up and coming school, and having gotten to play ECS and CAK. We talked about 2011, 2012. CAK won it those 2 years before Alcoa won it in 13, and so we've been very fortunate to play some really good programs.
And the schedule you guys have put together for 2021, they're always tough, but there's a little added extra challenge when you consider you're throwing Oakland in there, and you're taking out 6A's best.
Yeah, it in 2011, again, just kind of going back to that first year, thinking about playing Brentwood Academy and Montgomery Bell Academy and Independence and Oakland and Cane Ridge, who's an up-and-coming program. I mean, it's certainly exciting for our kids. They've gotten to the point where they want to play in those games every week. And last year, getting to play Riverdale was really awesome. That's a great program, and so we're excited about it. The Rutherford County football speaks for itself, and Oakland has been the class of the state for several years now. So we know that we got our hands full, but it's fun to go out and compete against some of the best.
A lot of good quarterbacks that you're going to see from those opponents as well. What do you think about the way the quarterbacks have improved in this area over the last few years?
Yeah, so when people ask me about improvements in football in Middle Tennessee, it really, to me, goes back to the technology advancements. And so every school now has access to watching film on a regular basis, and quality film, and film that actually, you don't have to spend, hours upon hours cutting up and burning DVDs or, making copies of video cassettes and all of that old school
or having
stuff.
to meet halfway exchange film,
and someone gives you a blank copy, or someone accidentally gives you the JV game or whatever. So yes, so it's definitely helped out, and I think football's a numbers game. Everyone knows that, and with Middle Tennessee booming, it's a population increase. Atlanta became one of the best spots for football because of the population, and so Nashville's no different. We're booming. People are moving in here. Rutherford County's booming. They got a lot of people moving in there, and so that's where you start getting some of these really high-profile kids. Jalen Ramsey, being a first-round pick, Derek Barnett coming out of this area. I'm trying to think of who some of the more recent ones were, but we've had some really good, high-quality kids for sure.
Yeah. Golden Tate being one of those.
Yeah,
as well.
Golden Tate. I mean, we were talking about John Henderson from Pearl Cone
Right.
a couple days ago. John Henderson was as high profile as they come, Outland Trophy winner, and so definitely excited for what Middle Tennessee has and what Tennessee has overall.
Get a new venue if you make it to the end this year. Chattanooga gets the Blue Cross Bowl. What are your thoughts on moving that? I know you got to get there first. But what are your thoughts on moving the Blue Cross Bowl to Chattanooga?
Well, being a Nashville native, I'm certainly partial to the memories I have as a kid of making bowls of chili and going over to the Clinic Bowl
Yep.
at Dudley Field, Vanderbilt Stadium. And so I appreciate what Tennessee Tech did. I appreciate Chattanooga's input, but travel considerations have not been taken into account. Like it doesn't make any sense why you wouldn't have the last game in the most central part of the state where everyone can get to in an easy drive. And so now you got Memphis schools that are going to be, I don't know how they're going to get there. Like, I don't know how you get from Memphis to Chattanooga.
There's no easy way to get from
No.
Memphis to Chattanooga.
Yeah, and so if I was a West Tennessee guy, I'd be a little bit more sore. We're still 2 hours. Cookeville was a little bit over an hour and 15, hour and 20 minutes from CPA. But we'll play in a parking lot.
I was gonna say.
We'll play anywhere. It doesn't matter. If you make it to that game the week after Thanksgiving, that your kids are excited, your community is excited, and the stadium in Chattanooga, Finley Stadium, is a great place. I played there in college. I've got good memories on that field, and it's a great venue. But whatever gets in the way of common sense sometimes is hard to watch. And so, I know money becomes involved, and as I mentioned earlier, when money gets involved, things get construed maybe a little bit opposite of what all of us feel is nice. I mean, even, Alabama and Auburn rotate the thing. Just come up with something that makes sense versus just basing it on money.
Right.
Middle Tennessee made a lot of sense at MTSU for a long time,
Right.
But I'd love to see it in Knoxville and in Memphis. And I know you're traveling, but if you alternate years, play one in the Liberty Bowl, play one in Neyland Stadium. I mean, do something fun. Play one at Vanderbilt. Go on a 3-year. I mean, we are a state that prides itself on West, Middle, and East. Why wouldn't you go on a 3-year cycle and play one in all 3 of those cities?
Yeah.
But, that would take –
But not Martin.
Huh? Not Martin?
Not Martin.
Why not Martin?
And that's a little difficult to get to. No, my daughter spent 4 years at Martin.
I got you. Yeah. No, I just think that there's maybe a way to do it that seems to make a little bit more sense than just putting it somewhere that bids money. Like at that point, to me, like it needs to be about the kids. It needs to be about making money. It should be, hey, let's figure out. James Franklin, who is at Vandy, was as good as anybody at welcoming people into that stadium. The last staff, it got a little weird. Like it was almost like they didn't want you at Vandy to do stuff. We were fortunate enough because we were close by, but the cost of games and doing things like that. And so I hope Coach Lee and his staff will be excited. But Coach Heupel and Coach Silverfield at Memphis, I mean, if I was those guys, I'd be begging to have it at these places to get to show off what I have and to get those families and people in my community. So anyway, it's a whatever. I'm excited. The Chattanooga people are excited, and we're happy to have the opportunity to play.
I love barbecue. I got my own egg and try to do my own
Do
stuff.
you?
We have a former CPA football player that was a competition cooker, Rob Marlowe, and so his barbecue teams, you like a barbecue, and so they come in and do a kind of a midweek meal for us every year. And so I got to give Rob Marlowe and Peter Swanson a shout out because they're the ones that turned me on to brisket. I never really got into brisket, and Rob showed me what good brisket is.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's amazing. Yeah.
So it's cool. So these guys you coached with or played?
They played at CPA, and then they graduated and got into competition barbecue cooking, and now they're old and washed up, but they still know how to cook.
Yeah. I mean, that's what it's all about.
Yeah.
Relationships and about barbecue, and I think that's what we provide. Our atmosphere and environment's great. So when you talk about that, I mean, so food resonates and it brings the people together, and you celebrate.
Yeah, it's by far our kids. We feed them on Tuesdays, and it's our kids' favorite meal is all-out barbecue fest where he brings, I forget how many Boston butts he smokes, like 16 or 17 butts.
Really?
Brings them in with homemade sides. Yeah,
that's insane.
Yeah.
I understand. People understand you're a great football player when you went to NBA, but what they may not know is that you lettered in 4 sports. You lettered in soccer, basketball, and baseball as well as football. Correct?
And track.
And track. Okay. See, I knew somewhere I was going to make a mistake. And track. He left. What made you choose football, or did it choose you?
That's a great question. And actually, I've had this conversation with a lot of kids over the years because I was blessed to have a guy have that conversation with me. Jamie Redmond, who's still over at MBA, where I went to high school, pulled me to the side. I thought I was, as a kid, you think you're everything, and I thought I was a soccer player when I was young. Played a lot of travel soccer, loved soccer, Then basketball was my love. Thought I was going to go. My sister had just gone to University of Arizona, and they had just won a national championship. So I thought, all right, I want to go play at Arizona. In my freshman year of high school, Jamie Redmond pulled me to the side and talked about some mathematics, and he made it real simple. And he said, you're a really good basketball player. He goes, 6'2", you can shoot, you can dunk, you can do all these things, which is awesome. He said, you're probably going to be one of the top, probably 500 or top 1,000 kids in the country. He goes, that's incredible, And I was like, man, that's awesome. Thanks for saying that. And he said, but football, you're going to be one of about 10. He said, there's not going to be many 6'2" kids that can run a 4.5 and can throw the ball 70 yards and can punt and can, throw, catch, whatever you want to say about athletically. And so I listened to him, and he was dead right. My senior year, all my opportunities were in football. And so really having someone that saw what I could be before I even saw it and before my parents saw it, and Coach Bowers, talked to my parents soon after that and kind of let them know that might be coming down the line. And so for me, coming out of the family that I came from, paying for college was important. And so I didn't really care. I wanted to play at the highest level and make sure my parents didn't have to pay. And so really, like you said, football kind of chose me. And I really, football, we could probably have a whole show on it if you wanted to, but you don't. But just the journey football has taken me on has been incredible. I'm wearing a Furman shirt today, coincidentally enough. But without, playing football at Furman, I wouldn't be coaching. And so, playing at Florida and doing all that, I was almost ready to be done with football. And so football's been an amazing part of my life. But, Furman showed me you could be a husband and a father and a coach. Before that, the only thing I saw was guys that sacrificed everything to be, guys that had a chance to coaching at the Power 5 level. Coach Spurrier, who I signed with and went down and played for a year, I think he ran a different program, but the staff that came in, because he left after my freshman year, they were guys that basically sold out everything to rise to the top, which a lot of people do in life. You go and it's all about your career. And Tim Sorrells and Bobby Lamb, guys that coached me at Furman, showed me that it could be something different. So without football, my wife and my kids and what I'm doing now, everything would have changed. So just that one little conversation from a guy, and you mentioned, football choosing you is pretty interesting way of putting it, but that certainly happened for me. And so, when we were off air a minute ago, we all were talking about just the opportunities, and for whatever reason in our country, football is really valued. And so there's 85 opportunities at every Division I school. And so there's lots of money to go around to help kids pay for their school. And so that was a huge blessing. And, the other sports I appreciated, I still appreciate. I love playing it. I wish I'd played more tennis, wish I'd played more golf, all these different things that you can compete in. But I really think playing athletics for a high school kid is probably the most important thing he can do, because it's so important to be a part of something bigger than yourself, and that's really the benefit. And so to have been able to experience that after high school and after college was an incredible piece of my life. But yeah, definitely someone that loves playing sports and loves watching them.
That brings us to our viewer question of the week. This question came from Tim Morgan of Lafayette, and he was wondering, a person with your experience where you played in college, you played in the pros, why would a person with your experience and credentials choose high school coaching over opportunities that may present themselves in college or in the pros?
Well, I think I've answered that two different ways, and you answered it. You know, I said earlier, you know, guys who coach high school come to coach high school because it's a calling. You know, I don't. No one makes it in high school going to be rich and famous and to be someone that everyone admires. You know, it's a very thankless job. You know, not a whole lot of glory, whatever the world says. And so I feel like high school football chose me, like you said, just like the sport chose me. And so I've couldn't be more blessed to be in the job that I'm in. I think everyone's got different things that they want to experience or need to experience in life to feel like they've done everything they can. And right now I feel very thankful to have the job that I have. And, you know, I get to help coach my kids' sports teams and, you know, got to be out at my 8-year-old's baseball game for 2.5 hours last night, and got to pick up my son from camp today and take him home and eat lunch with him. And so there's lots of things that high school football affords you. And so that question, you know, I guess maybe if I had grown up in a different place or had a different set of life circumstances, I might have that desire to do something. And there's definitely an itch sometimes that you feel like scratching, but going on 12 years now, I just kind of pray the same prayer every year, which is, God, give me everything that I need to have to get through this year, because without you, I can't do any of it. And so for me, that's what I ask him. And so if he one day says, hey, you need to go look over here or go do something, I'll listen to that and I'll follow that. But right now, my wife and I are really happy at CPA with the community that we have and the kids that we get to coach, and really looking forward to this next 2021 season. And so, you know, we're excited about it, and again, got a great group of coaches that I get to coach with, and excited about, you know, what God's got for us this year. And I think that's for all of us. I think, you know, to be able to get to a spot where wherever God has you, to be content with it, and to be able to just say, all right, you got me here for a reason. And, you know, I mentioned, you know, kind of how we go about each season. Like, we want to do the very best we can for the people that God's put in our care. And so we're stewards of this job. And so until he calls me into another job somewhere else, I'm going to do the best I can here. And right now, again, we're excited. You know, we just got to go on a little makeshift vacation, if you will. It was supposed to start with some fishing in Alabama and a Braves game on Monday. And in between, my wife, who was actually a 5-time state champion at Ezel Harding here in Nashville as a softball pitcher, she was blessed to be able to play softball at Alabama for 4 years as a pitcher. But Alabama hosted the Super Region. So we added up everything, and we said, all right, we can go fishing on Thursday. We can get to Hoover Thursday night to watch Vanderbilt play baseball, get to Tuscaloosa Friday at noon to watch Alabama play softball. And then my favorite restaurant in Greenville, Tommy's Country Ham House, was closing after 36 years. Y'all would love it. And so we went and saw Tommy Stevenson and some good friends of ours. Brian Bratton, who's the receiver coach at Furman, who's one of my best friends, saw him and his wife and their 3 kids. We got to eat breakfast there on Saturday, and we went to church with them. His wife works at a church in Greenville, so we went to church Sunday morning, then went and got lunch at Tommy's, drove home, and went to the Braves game on Monday. So
Amazing.
That's what you get to do if you're a high school coach. You get some freedom to do that kind of stuff. So,
Well, outstanding answer. And Tim, thank you so much for sending in that question. We do appreciate it. And, folks, you know, you have a question for us, make sure you call them in. I'm going to switch gears. Call them in. Yeah, call them in. Yeah. Hit our social media, okay?
yeah. DM.
Yeah.
I didn't know operators were standing by.
Oh, gosh.
24 hours a day, 7 days a week.
That's right. You just have to put the phone call in the form of a direct message on our Twitter.
I think that I hit my glitch for the episode.
Not 99 cents a minute, right?
We don't take this kind of call.
Standard rate supply.
Standard rate supply.
Yes.
Oh my gosh! Wow.
We had a flashback right there.
Showing my age just a little bit.
That's all right. We all appreciate that. It's funny. The pastor, speaking of that church sermon on Sunday, he said something that was hilarious. He got up there and talked about you can't fully understand something until you learn to possess it. And you can't possess it until you learn how to understand it. He said, I loved my iPhone 8, and my family got me a brand new iPhone 12. And you can't fully appreciate something until you understand it. And he's like, and I have no idea what I'm doing with this thing. So.
We all know I'm playing it by ear.
Yeah, me too sometimes.
Wow, this went off the rails real quick. Let's talk a little bit about private schools. We deal a lot of the people that we've talked to, or a lot of people that I've talked to, don't understand the differences that may face a private school athlete versus a public school athlete. I don't know that there is one. Is there any more challenges that a private school athlete might run into than maybe a public school athlete?
I think it's an interesting question. I think the biggest thing is you got different walks of life all over this state, all over this country, and there are certainly big differences between a kid at CPA and a kid at Pearl Cone or a kid at Macon County. They grow up in a different community. They grow up around different people. They grow up with different environments. But what I've seen, and I've got friends that coach public school. I've got friends that coach private school. I've got friends that coach big schools. I've got friends that coach at small schools. Is every single one of these kids that we coach wants to know really one thing, two things, that they want to know that they belong in a group of people, and they want to know that they matter. And so whatever those circumstances are, because, life is tragic, right? And so a private school kid has a lot of opportunities at a lot of private schools, right? But there are some public school kids that have a lot of great opportunities. Alcoa and Maryville, Ravenwood, Brentwood High. I mean, those are public schools, but they've got tremendous opportunities. And then you've got kids that are coming from places where they're sleeping in a different home every night of the week. And so there are some of those kids that are in private schools, and there are some of those kids that are in public schools. And it really, to me, is determined on their successes. What kind of environment are they in? And so to say that a kid has it harder at one place or the other, it just depends on what kind of question you're asking in terms of what that difficulty is. But, I think private school kids, that they want to know that they belong. They want to know that they matter. They want to know that they're a part of something that matters and that means something. And so the best coaches, no matter what type of school they're at, do a great job of bringing those kids in and letting them know that they got something to offer to a big group of people. And again, just talking more and more about being a part of something bigger than yourself, coming into a group and saying, hey man, you got something to give our group. We want you to come give it. And every one of us as men want someone to see that in us and to call that out of us. And that's what, to me, that's what high school football can do. And it doesn't matter if you're at a public school or a private school.
We've seen several former NFL players developing coaches in the Middle Tennessee area. Is this a good thing? And what might they bring to the table that other coaches may not?
Well, I certainly think since, what year was it? 97? When did the Titans play?
97. They were Memphis for a year.
Yeah, 98 was the first year in the stadium, or 99. 98 they were in Vanderbilt Stadium. 97 they were in Memphis, right? Mm-hmm. And so, ever since the Titans came to town, you've got a bunch of people all over the country who are coming here from different walks of life to be a part of the Titans franchise, and they fall in love with the city. And so you've got a lot of people that love the city. The city's obviously exploding. We talked about that off air, just the population boom of Nashville, and football's a numbers game. And so I think with that, you've got guys that have become familiar with the city, who have played the game at the highest level. And, having a great athletic career does not ever correlate into a great coaching career. I think oftentimes the best coaches were the worst players. A few times the best coaches were the best players, Yeah. And so there's not a whole lot of those guys. I'm trying to think of who the most successful player/coach is. I'm sure y'all have a list in your mind. Phil Jackson was an unbelievable coach and played at the highest level, on a championship team. who else? Give me some names.
Let's see.
Bill Curry was a really good player.
Bill Curry
Bill
was
Curry.
a great one.
Yeah.
I guess it's yet to be seen about Dion.
He wasn't a head coach, but Dick LeBeau.
Dick LeBeau was good.
Really good player.
Yeah.
Jeff Fisher obviously
Jeff
was
Fisher,
good enough
yep.
to be in the NFL and was a great coach. So anyway, so
Yeah.
you asked about what that meant. I just think guys that have played can attach a lot of their adult lives sometimes to the game of football. Mm-hmm. And football gets more and more sophisticated the higher up you go. And I think the best coaches, and doesn't matter if you played in the NFL or not, can make the game simple at every level. And so an NFL guy, they've got a bunch of experiences as a player to bring. But oftentimes when you look at NFL football, college football, and high school football, it's the same game, but they're completely different philosophies behind each one of them that lead to success. And so I think as a player, for me speaking, I just can reflect on I've sat in that fire before. I've felt that heat before. And I think whether that's a high school player, a college player, or a pro player, being able to play and relate to that is an important piece. But, honestly, we've had guys that didn't play high school football that have coached for us and have been tremendous coaches because they understood what the game was about and they understood building relationships was the most important piece of it.
Yeah. It seems like, especially the Nashville area, with the growth and everything that you mentioned earlier, we're seeing some of that more. Of course, now we're also seeing it at the college level with Eddie George over at TSU. So I think the question really sprung out of a lot of that. Wondering if you have like insider rivalries with any of the other coaches around here that may have played at that level.
No, there's no real rivalries. We've got Leroy Harris is coaching with us, and I mentioned him and his wife before, and he was a teammate of mine, and so it's fun to have guys that you played with. Obviously, a lot of my relationships have been built around football, and so whether they're coaching with me or I'm coaching against them, my best friends, most of them were around the game of football, whether that was high school, college, or afterwards. And so I think that's for all of us, the stuff that we get involved in, the stuff that we commit to. And when you go and kind of sweat and bleed with somebody next to you, I think it builds a bond. And, football certainly provides that opportunity.
Look at this. This is incredible. Got my banana pudding. Looks good. Got my green beans. But look at this brisket. That is incredible. Smoke ring. I'm going to... Got my cornbread. This is incredible. I am looking so forward to this. Wow, that's tender. I love my job. I'm taking my time because I know Chris is sitting there dying. Amazing. Thank you for watching. If you want to continue to support our content and you like our coverage of Middle Tennessee high school football, please like and subscribe. And don't forget, click that little bell so you get notifications whenever we have new content. Thanks again.